Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Wonderful to be with you again. So we're still in America and right near my parents' place. And I'd like to introduce my very, very dear and wonderful friend, Micheal Dixon, who's been our neighbor for years and years.
Yeah.
Actually, I went to school with his daughter, and it was a few years ago as we were coming to visit my parents that we would walk up and down the road nearby, and we just struck up a conversation, and the next thing I knew, Micheal was like, you could just see he was so open and searching for spiritual knowledge and wisdom, and from our talks.
So Krishna dropped a Jai on my doorstep. I was playing the guitar in a swing, half asleep, and I look up and here comes Jai with their hair, ponytail, and all the clothes.
Yeah.
And I came awake very fast, and I ran out to the front by the sidewalk or by the road, and I said, "I know you." I remember saying this. I know who you are. I know what you do.
I was like, I don't know who I am.
I'd been exposed to Prabhupada in the books when I was doing art fairs in Michigan, at the University of Michigan. And every year they'd come by my booth, and I'd keep giving me these books, and I brought them home and read them, and I was getting into it. So it was pure. It wasn't coincidence. It was pure Krishna that brought us together. Where else?
Divine arrangement.
They have to see this town to know what I'm talking about. It's not a village. It's a grouping of homes. It's a rural area with rural people.
But the amazing thing is, and I'm so happy that we're getting the chance to read the Bhagavatam together. Actually, we got together yesterday and we come together today.
Yeah.
And we haven't really done like this, so we're really excited.
Yeah.
But I just want to, Micheal was so inspired to read the books that he wanted to start with the Bhagavatam. And he went online on eBay and he found First Canto Part 1, or maybe I gave you First Canto Part 1 or something. Somehow, how did you get
the very first canto? I think I got on eBay.
You got that on eBay as well.
But they were older, and they had all the cantos broken down into 4 and 5 books.
Yeah.
And you have canto number 3, part 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then on eBay you couldn't get all I didn't know where else to get them, and I couldn't find all of them, and so I'd read 1 and 2, and then they wouldn't have 3 available, so I'd go on to 4 or something like that, and then come back. And so it was very very sporadic that I only made it through 4, and then finally Jai took me down to the temple, and I got the whole.
Now he's got the whole set.
The whole set.
You're holding one of the nice new Bhagavatams, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, I just realized that the air conditioner is on.
Yeah, let's turn it off.
Do you think we could turn that
Absolutely.
off? So we'll just pause here for 1 minute. So yeah, sorry about that background noise. We just turned off the AC because it is swelteringly hot here in Maryland, in America. So now we're gonna go ahead and get stuck into the reading, and we're continuing our reading from the 3rd canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and 3rd canto is entitled
Understanding Material Nature.
Yeah, which is one of Michael's favorite topics.
Yeah,
he's really
definitely
into transcendental knowledge. I think after this we're going to discuss the 11th canto, where he's up to the 11th canto, 2nd part. Almost finished the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is just so amazing to see over really the last 3 years. You've moved through the whole Bhagavatam. So we're at Understanding Material Knowledge, and today we're going to read text. We're going to start with text 16 and see how we get on. Now, my wife says that Micheal and I are like 2 peas in a pod because we both like to talk a lot. so we may do more talking than reading, but it's going to be a discussion about the Bhagavatam. So we'll start with the invocation. So Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So wonderful. My wife's always saying, "Oh, see, we were in harmony," but that's actual harmony. Because Michael's very, as you can see by the guitars and things in the background, Michael's, we're actually in his newly created music room where he's recording some songs that he's written that are filled with transcendental knowledge. So really, really inspiring and a very talented musician. But
Thank you.
okay, so yeah, please, if you would like to read the translation, and then
I'll read the translation.
Yeah, and usually what we do is we'll read like a paragraph of the purport.
Okay.
Then we'll stop and reflect back on the paragraph. Okay, did anything make sense, or was there something that was confusing, or some inspiration, or like that?
Fine.
Okay.
When by nature understanding one can realize his individuality, then the situation he accepts under false ego becomes manifest to him.
Need the purport on that one. You can go ahead.
Oh, you want me to read the purport? Now, please excuse my pronunciation. Remember, I have read this, but I don't know how to pronounce the names. So
there you go.
So the Mayavadi philosopher's position is that at the ultimate issue, the individual is lost. Everything becomes one, and there's no distinction between the knower, the knowable, and knowledge. By the minute analysis, or by the minute analysis, we can see that this is not correct. Individuality is never lost, even when one thinks that the three different principles, namely the knower, the knowable, and knowledge, are amalgamated or merged into one. The very concept that the three merge into one is another form of knowledge. And since the perceiver of the knowledge still exists, how can one say that the knower, knowledge, and knowable have become one? The individual soul, who is perceiving this knowledge, still remains an individual. Both in material existence and in spiritual existence, the individuality continues. The only difference is in the quality of the identity. In the material identity, the false ego acts, and because of false identification, one takes things to be different from what they actually are. That is the basic principle of conditional life. Similarly, when the false ego is purified, one takes everything in the right perspective. That is the state of liberation.
Okay, very nice. Any thoughts on that? Any realizations? Anything that stood out to you specifically?
I have to think about that. It's I would say it's talking about Maya, illusion. Illusion, and one of the largest illusions we have is that we are the body. We are. I am Micheal Dixon, and you are Jai Dasa, and we aren't really. It's part of Krishna's external energy, and as we were talking about yesterday, if once you're aware of that, then things start to happen. Things start to change. And I remember when I first met Jai and Baba, I was curious more about Baba than I was Jai, because I knew Jai, but I didn't quite know how to understand Baba. And I said, and she once made a comment to me that when I start reading this, I'm going to get into the good stuff, and that left something that I wouldn't forget. But I later asked her, I said, what's the good stuff? What is that good stuff? When is it that does Krishna come? Do you actually see him? There's many forms that he takes, and I just didn't understand what she was saying. Well, lo and behold, after about the 6th or 7th canto, I call them synchronicity moments where things just click. They just go. I mean, it's as simple as going to the store in a big town, and you go through maybe 10 lights. You're in the middle of a town, and you're going through all these stop signs and and all of a sudden everything turns green. It's unimaginable. That's actually happened to me a couple of times. Everything, all the lights, and when that happens, I know something is about to happen. And that. That awareness.
Those signs.
That's those signs, those awareness, and that's what she was talking about, I think. And after I experienced it, I said, "Oh, I get that now." And that's kind of what this is saying.
Yeah, very nice.
It's similar.
Very nice. No, that's beautiful. Beautiful. Actually, when we first read this, I was a little confused, as sometimes can happen. Actually, when we started this section, Baba and I were, because we kind of, in one sense, we prefer more Leela, as we were discussing yesterday, more Leela, more pastime, and interactions between 2 or 3 personalities and the way they deal with things.
Right.
But in this section, Lord Kapila Dev is just purely speaking to Devahuti, his mother, and he's just communicating transcendental knowledge. And once you get in, sometimes it can become very technical and a little bit like
a little heavy.
Yeah. So sometimes when you read these sections, I was just thinking with this verse, when by mature understanding one can realize his individuality, then the situation he accepts under false ego becomes manifest to him. And I think that's, you really summarize that nicely by saying it's about the illusory energy and thinking that I am this body or this external identification. But here it says, when you have mature understanding, you can realize your individuality, who you are as a spiritual being.
Right.
Yeah. Now, Srila Prabhupada, he takes it in the purport, and he immediately, often, and from reading the Bhagavatam, he'll often speak about the Mayavad philosophy.
Yes, I didn't, and I truthfully, I've never been exposed to the Mayavad. I just know that he doesn't care for it. Right? Is that?
Well, more than he doesn't care for it, he kind of really openly criticizes it. And you can see here he tries to defeat that philosophy.
Right.
And it's interesting because we often say we haven't been exposed to it, but actually probably if I explain it a little bit, basically it's the philosophy from transcendental knowledge, also the philosophy that we can become one with God, or merge into God.
Right.
And in that space, we are no longer our individual identity.
Right.
We become God. And so that, according to Gaudiya Vaishnavism, according to us as followers of a personalistic philosophy, that's an impersonal philosophy, then that's it's kind of blasphemous,
Yes. Okay.
And Prabhupada will often say that.
Yeah, right. I remember reading
so we
many
don't
times.
we don't ever want to become God. We want to remain in our position as servants of God. Jivara Swarupuri Krishnara Nitya Das. So in that, then I saw another thing, and I was wondering what maybe you made out of this, because it says the distinction between the knower, the knowable, and knowledge. And later he defines them as, again, the knower, knowable, and knowledge. So what did you make out? What did you think about those 3 things? How would you describe that? Or did you have any thoughts or ideas on that?
I'm tempted to get into what I might be not, but is it has to do with the 2 birds that are on a tree.
Oh, okay.
Did you remember that when we were talking about
Mundaka Upanishad?
Okay, one bird is watching, and the other bird is acting.
Yes.
Was there a 3rd bird there?
Nope.
No, there was just 2 birds.
Those 2 birds, that's a great analogy. The 2 birds are the us, the individual soul.
Yes.
And
the super soul.
And the super soul, exactly. Right. And the tree is the body.
The tree is the body, okay.
That's right. And the tree is the body because us, the one bird, we're trying to enjoy this tree, get the fruits, and the observer is the super soul who's saying, it's not going to go anywhere.
It's not going to go anywhere.
Get out of this what you thought. So, yeah, that's a nice analogy, and I think that definitely relates to this. In Bhagavad Gita, it talks about Kshetra and Kshetra Gya. Kshetra Gya means the knower of Kshetra, and Kshetra means the place, or Bhagavad Gita refers to the body. So let's say like this, there's the body, or the tree in that analogy. Then there's the knower of the tree, which could be the soul,
Soul,
us,
yes.
which I think is being referred to here. It also could be the super soul, but let's say it's the soul in this analogy. And then there's the knowledge.
Right.
So there's three distinctions. There's the knower, which is the soul. The knowable, which is that which is around the body. And then what the knower knows is knowledge.
Knowledge. And knowledge is in the mode of goodness.
Knowledge is generally, knowledge can be also in
I'm
different
referring
modes.
to when he said the three things that Krishna gives us is remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness.
Okay, yeah.
And
nice.
knowledge is goodness. I think forgetfulness it's either passion. No. Remembrance is passion, and forgetfulness
would be ignorance.
ignorance.
Yeah, because ignorance means a lack of knowledge.
Right.
Amazing, perfect.
I lost that I remember reading that, and then I couldn't find it again. Because I'm reading this, I'm going back, and I'm so into it that I keep going, and then I try to find it again, and several times I have a hard time finding. That's why I have to mark my books.
That's Bhagavad Gita 15:15.
See, and I wasn't looking in Bhagavad Gita. I thought I read it in the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Well, because you probably have.
I have, but
Prabhupada
and then I later
quotes it.
found it in 11. It's marked very
in the 11th canto.
On the 11th canto.
Okay, yeah.
So it's onto that same thing as far as knowledge goes. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
knowledge is definitely.
Now I understand remembrance and forgetfulness. Forgetfulness, I assume, means we forget between our lives. We no matter what we do here, how many people we love, how many people we meet, it is forgotten when we die. That's forgetfulness. To me, that's what it means.
Powerful.
And remembrance is is yes. I remember that. I remember some people could remember more than other people. I mean, it is, but it's not a matter of. I often say to my wife, I say it's not how smart you are or how intellectual you are or that you are. It's how it's the mode that you're in. There's many smart people who are in the mode of ignorance.
Absolutely. Yes.
And so I think it's a catch. It's again the Maya, and you could have it's helpful to know the difference between to be aware of those differences. That's what we're talking about here.
Well, that's it. The knowledge.
Yeah.
Of that which is knowable and who is knowing it. And then Srila Prabhupada is saying that they say it all becomes amalgamated into one. And but it's interesting, he says the individual soul who is perceiving this knowledge still remains an individual. Both in material existence and in spiritual existence, the individuality continues. The only difference is in the quality of the identity.
Right.
So it means that if you're perceiving something and you become one with it, still there's a perception of you becoming one with something. So that means there's still some understanding of distinction.
Right.
So for them to say everything becomes amalgamated, just like often they'll say, and Prabhupada gives this example, that often teachers of meditation say that you should become desireless. And Srila Prabhupada will say, but it's impossible to become desireless, because to become desireless is still a desire.
Right?
So it's impossible. So even if you're trying to think about not thinking about anything,
you're going to
still
think
thinking.
You're going to think it.
So like that. Should we read the next paragraph maybe?
Okay.
Would you like to continue to read?
I can do it if you want me to. However, I can see there's some words here that I'm going to mispronounce.
No, we can.
It is stated in the Upanishad.
That was great. The only thing I would add is that S, the second S, has an accent over it, which means that it's pronounced like a sh instead of a s.
You mean the first S?
The first S, yeah.
And say that again. It's sh.
Yeah.
Okay. Ishapanishad. Ishapanishad.
And the second S also, because it has a dot under it, that's also like a sh.
Okay.
So it's Isho Panishad.
Ishopanishadam. So I'm learning.
Perfect.
This is. I'll have a full lesson in pronunciation before I'm over. We should have done this at the end of the jobs. Okay. It is stated in the Ishopanishad that everything belongs to the Lord. Ishavaisasam idam sarvam.
That's perfect, because you picked up then, I saw that you picked up on that S with the mark, and the S's that don't have a dot or a mark are S.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everything exists on the energy of the Supreme Lord. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, because everything is produced of His energy and exists on His energy. The energy is not different from Him, but still the Lord declares, I am not there. When one clearly understands one constitutional position, everything becomes manifest. False egoistic acceptance of things conditions one, whereas acceptance of things as they are makes one liberated. The example given in the previous verse is applicable here. Due to absorption of one's identity in his money, when the money is lost, he thinks that he has also lost. But actually, he is not identical with the money, nor does the money belong to him. When the actual situation is revealed, we understand that the money does not belong to any individual person or living entity, nor is it produced by man. Ultimately, the money is the property of the Supreme Lord, and there is no question of its being lost. But as long as one falsely thinks, I am the enjoyer or I am the Lord, this concept of life continues, and one remains conditioned. As soon as the false ego is eliminated, one is liberated. As confirmed in the Bhagavatam situation in one's real constitutional position is called mukti, or liberation.
Yeah, that's powerful.
That's powerful there. That is, because that's the world today. That's Kali Yuga we live in. Everyone thinks I'm the president. I'm the head of this company. I'm this. I'm this. They all have these positions, and they identify with it so much that they lose concept of what is real.
What is actual reality?
Yeah, what's actual reality. Now, I'm not saying that you have to be able to function, but you have to rise above it as well. I had a relation, a person that was in our family, distance. It was my aunt and uncle's son. It was the daughter, and she married this fellow who was head of the millwork place in Cincinnati, Ohio. And Dan was his first name. I'll remember his last name. I only ever met him once. But before he went to work every day, he went to the Catholic Church and he prayed. He went to the Catholic Church. He was a devout Catholic. And he was highly successful in for years. He's passed on now. But I always thought that, why is he going to church every day before work? What's he getting out? What's he know that I don't know? Because I never had, we grew up as Presbyterians or Protestants, and I didn't look down on the Catholics. It's just that I didn't see anything any more in that than I did in any other sects but the fact that he became so successful. And he was so, he was obviously in the mode of goodness. I think he was because that's what he did. He negotiated with the union and all the workers and everything, and they all liked him.
Okay.
He was not a bad guy.
Okay.
And so that goes to prove that no matter who you are, whether you're in the military, whether you're in an orchestra, wherever, you meet all these different people. And it's hard to discern who they really are, because they're what we're talking about here is hidden from you. It's part of that. It's part of that illusion, part of your personality. I could come in here and start cussing and yelling and acting obnoxious. I mean, I can do it, and then that leaves a completely different impression on people, and you don't really know where they're coming from. And sometimes it takes just a few seconds to recognize that, and other times you just feel I'm around a saintly person. I'm around somebody in the mode of goodness, and that is a wonderful feeling to know that you're inspired. So I have this college professor, and he was the most wonderful person. He's definitely in the mode of goodness, and he's a college professor. He's 92 years old. He lives in a nursing home in Madison, Indiana, and we talked to him several times. We've been there to visit him, and he took us to Mexico. He is responsible for the path that we have gone down in our life. We went 5 weeks to Mexico with him, and when we were in our senior year of college, and that's where my wife and I decided to get married, and go into Peace Corps in Peru, which we did, and we've always looked fondly back upon him, and if there's ever anybody in the mode of goodness, we tell him we love him when we get done talking to him on the phone, and he tells us he loves us, and I made him a little these little tables that you can put in a small area, that's nesting tables. Okay. And every time he talks to us, he says, "I feel part of you is there, because every time I look at these nesting tables, I think of you." So I've experienced that, but I didn't know why. I didn't know what was going on. I just experienced it. But by reading this, that explains it. I mean, to me, it's finally at the end of my life, I'm going to be 80 in August. Finally, at the end of my life, I have a awareness now that I've never had before. And that doesn't mean I'm Mr. Nice Guy all the time. Alice will vouch for that. My wife will vouch for that. I can be a real, SOB every once in a while and say the wrong thing. We all have to do that. But we just bounce right back. Sometimes I go over the line. I'm kidding her and everything, and she doesn't take it lightly.
That's the break zone.
But yeah. So I don't know, maybe she better not see this, what we're doing. I won't get any dinner tonight.
Oh, this is amazing. This is so wonderful. Yeah, this is a nice, this heart-to-heart contact. Well, actually, I picked up on this point. You were saying someone is like the president, or they're this, the head of a company, or they have some identity that's a material identity. And I was thinking in the original translation, when by mature understanding one can realize his individuality, then the situation he accepts under false ego becomes manifest to him.
Yeah.
So once we realize, we can have this external, I'm the president, I'm the this, I'm the whatever. But then, once we start to realize ourselves as a spiritual being, like you're the head of your own company, right? And then it's like, no, okay, I still have that role to play.
Right.
But then we realize, what is it? All the world's a stage, and we are merely players. In the words of Shakespeare.
That's exactly right.
So then we're just here playing a part. Now we have a part to play here, but I'm still a spirit soul. So I have to act, and then the modes of material nature come into play. And how will I play my role? Am I going to be the wicked and evil villain? Exactly. Am I going to be the go-getter? Am I going to be more in the mode of goodness? Now, also, I think it's important to mention that this the modes. There's the three modes, and they're all in the material energy, the external material energy. But above those is another mode, which Prabhupada will refer to as Shuddha Sattva, because goodness is considered Sattva. Sattva, okay. Sattva Guna, it means goodness. So there's Tamas, which is ignorance, Rajas, passion, and Sattva, which is goodness. But there's another mode, which is Shuddha Sattva, or sometimes he refers to it as the Vasudev state. And that is a state that is beyond all of the modes. So what's being talked about here is coming to the platform of being experiencing mukti, which is liberation. And you haven't, you've read the previous verses some time ago, but the previous verses were talking about how one can be on the liberated platform even while we're here. Because one is not affected by the material energy. Ignorance, passion, or goodness. One is simply absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Or, one could argue that this gentleman, now I don't know him, Dan, you were saying, he was going to church every morning, and if in his being, if in his life he felt that his service every day as whatever the role was that he had, the president of this company, was simply ordained by God, and he was simply trying to do it as a service to God,
Right.
then he's no longer on even the mode of goodness.
Yeah.
He's actually he's functioning as an instrument of God, so he's therefore not being so influenced.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, there's a fine line between being in a very advanced, liberated state, not affected by the modes of material nature, and let's say approaching it or dipping in and out of it sometimes.
Right.
Because like you said, most of us can be like in an elevated platform at a certain point, but then at
Drop
another
down.
part of the day,
They drop down. Right.
So it's like that. And the modes are,
Right.
as it says in Bhagavad Gita, always fighting for supremacy.
Supremacy, right. Always try not to suffer.
Yeah.
Trying not to suffer.
Wow, this is amazing. Wonderful. So I'm kind of conscientious now. I don't know how much time we've been talking, but
About 15, 20 minutes.
yeah, I think at least 15 or 20 minutes. So I think maybe if we call it a day on this verse,
Okay.
and we can always do this again another time
Oh,
if you're up for it.
Every day, I don't care. Whatever you want to do.
So let's ask if you want Michael and I to do another reading. If you're really into it, you can leave a comment, and if you have any questions you have for Michael, is such a special soul. He's traveled so much around the states, and he's been in so many different places. He's very talented. Woodworking.
Stop already. My false ego is going.
Pumping him up. But he's not his body. He's not Micheal Dixon. He's the spirit soul, eternal servant of Krishna. Anyway, we thank you very much, Michael, for joining us. It's always such an honor and a blessing to be in your presence.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for tuning in again. And please remember, you can comment, you can like, you can subscribe, and share. Let others know about this, and please leave some comments or questions, and we can try to chat about it next time. Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.